Hey Mellow fans, we're kicking off 2023 with a new series on our YouTube channel, and that is Overlanding 101 with MLO. We are going to be kicking off this series with a couple episodes on vehicle platforms and vehicle selection. And the first in our series is going to be full-size trucks, right Pete?
Correct, yeah. So we're going full-size truck, then we're going to be talking about different platforms, including mid-size trucks, SUVs, in future Overland 101 videos. Larger than a Tacoma, larger than a Frontier. You're putting on your big boy pants, you're getting out of your little tiny truck, you're getting off the beach chair that you've been sitting on the last couple years, and your lower back's killing you, and now you can finally sit in a real chair that's meant for sitting in, where you can actually let your feet hang a little bit, and you can have some real power because your little Camry motor is no longer in there inconveniencing you and making you wish that you had something else.
You can lounge in lap of luxury going 80 miles an hour
Cooled
down the
seats,
highway.
all the deal, yeah. Full-size trucks are letting us accomplish truck campers, flatbed campers, heavy towing, carrying the family, pretty much everything without a concern about weight, without a concern about power, and all that. So definitely a step up above that mid-size segment.
So for this video, we each selected our favorite vehicle in the full-size range. Let's start off. Pete, what did you select?
I selected the Ram platform. So Ram 2500, 3500, 4500 maybe even.
Nice.
Yeah.
Matt, what did you decide to go with?
I'm going to go with the Ford Super Duty.
The Soupy Duty. It's a bad one. It's not the Super Duty. It's the next trim level down. The Soupy Duty.
I'm going with the Super Duty. I'm going with the F250, F350, F550, whatever it takes.
No 450 for that. Just the 5.
Right to 550.
So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to say Toyota Tundra. A lot of people might not consider that a full-size truck, but it's definitely better than a Tacoma or some other mid-size options. So I'm saying Tundra for this video.
We're going to start off with the exterior styling.
Yes.
Peter?
On the Ram, I think it's hard to beat. There are a ton of different options, really cohesive OEM Plus aftermarket options from AEV with the Prospector XL, their bumper line. Expedition 1 has some great bumpers out for the Ram as well. I think it's one of the better looking trucks. I think you'd be challenged to find a better looking truck that has 40s on it that doesn't look like it only should be at a tractor pull.
Interesting.
So
good points.
I think it's attractive, you know, but I think the cab's like kind of small.
Yeah.
I do like the new headlights are nice.
Yeah.
Definitely a big improvement from the previous generation.
Yeah.
But that is kind of one thing that I think the older Tundras are lacking, are the looks. I don't love how the first and second gen Tundras look, but I think on the third gens, Toyota did a really good job. We just finished up a big flatbed build on one, and we installed a C4 bumper on there, and I think installing that C4 bumper really changed how that truck looked in the front. I don't love the big grille from the factory, but once you get a bumper on there, I think it makes it look a lot better.
Yeah, cutting that ugly chin off.
So they had chrome on there. It always makes me think of like Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, it's like a Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Yes. It is definitely hideous.
Once you see that, it's hard to unsee it.
And finally, I'm going to go on the Ford front. I think it's beautiful. I know the Ford, exterior styling. It's tough. It's got a nice strong look to it. It's got the aluminum body, so it's lighter, so you can carry more payload potentially. The cab dimensions are actually, it's a nice size. So when we put a flatbed on it or flatbed camper, it's a nice tight fit. You don't have a big cab over gap. So dimensionally, I think it hits on a lot of fronts. And I mean, right out of the gate, you can put some much bigger wheels and tires on that thing without having a problem, as opposed to maybe these two.
Moving along, we're going to talk about interiors. Myself, I personally really like the Ram interior. It's got a lot of different options. You've got the Limited, you've got different wood grains, you've got leather, cooled seats, offset stitching, you've got Longhorn interior with embossed leather and cowboy buckles on it. You can really go wild. So depending on what you're into, there's something for everybody in the Ram category, and I think it's a very comfortable setup, and I think the Ram really set the bar high way back when for interior quality, probably 10 years ago or so, when Fiat got involved and started fitting it with all the fine Italian leathers. And
I think Cowboys will back you up on the Ram choice there, Pete.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the Tundra, the interior is also kind of not a shining star of the Tundra. The first and second gens, if you've ever been in them, the first gen looks like, I don't know.
It looks like a Tacoma took some
Looks like you're in a
steroids.
it's like a minivan inside.
Yeah, straight up.
They also feel,
like
I
Ford
think,
Windstar.
enormous and kind of like in an odd way. Like there should potentially be more inside of it, and it's like the dash is like a countertop. And
Yeah, it's bizarre.
what are you supposed to do with it?
It's
You know,
bizarre.
you put your maps out on it? Do you put,
Yeah, your Atlas. Where
I always
your
found,
use it as a
I always
bookshelf.
found the second gen seats to like be super dense foam. Like you sat on it, but it wasn't like you sunk in or it felt comfortable. You were just like sitting on this.
You got to have the seats hold up for a million miles, man.
This brick.
I think the second gens kind of feel really bulbous when you're inside of them.
It's like a big bubble.
It seems like it'd be impossible to wheel because you're just like you're inside this giant jelly bean.
It's hard to see out of.
It feels like a spaceship or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think on the third gens they really did a good job to kind of update that interior. It definitely has a futuristic look.
Yeah.
Spent a little bit of time in one. All the switches and buttons and plastic seem to be pretty good quality.
Yeah, it's like Tron.
It's definitely been modernized. I'd say it kind of took a turn toward like the Lexus style interior.
agreed.
Different, nicer switchwork, less of like the rectangular kind of utilitarian.
Yeah. And from
Porsche
pictures,
vibes.
we haven't seen a TRD Pro come in for the new Tundra, but from pictures, that interior looks like it's really nice and modern.
Very sporty.
Kind of
Yeah.
very different look than the Ram.
Are they still using the neoprene wetsuit for the TRD
I
Pro?
think so. It
Because all
has-
the people
it
with
has-
TRD Pros are apparently slobs. They need to have a wetsuit for their seat so they can wipe up after themselves.
Did you forget about the Power Wagon, Pete?
The Power Wagon. All right, sorry. Yeah, on the Ram side, the Power Wagon.
Yeah, the Power Wagon's like
it was for people that had sweaty bottoms.
it's like vinyl. Ford has many trim levels of varying levels of luxury.
Yeah.
The leather's pretty nice. I think very comfortable seating position. It's like a lounge chair.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting in
just
like
put the
a-
miles in.
Fisher Price child's toy.
Yeah,
All this
it might be comfortable.
low grade plastic.
Yeah, don't touch
Look,
anything.
The wood
in the
grain
interior.
has yet to be updated from 1987.
Ford's still buying their plastic from wherever they got the Range Rover Classic material, which is like, feels like the most brittle stuff in
maybe,
the world.
maybe. Yeah, it's
Door panels are made of like
it's
peanut
faux.
brittle.
It's very faux. But I don't know. I think it's it's nice quality leather, feels quality, and you can put some serious miles in and not get
I will say,
fatigued.
like, the head unit kind of system tying in with Apple Play is really nice
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the Ford.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint on the Ford is the door chimes.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the worst door chimes ever. They drive me insane.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So now we covered interior and exterior. Let's talk about kind of the meat and potatoes, the powertrain systems. So on the Tundra, you don't really get a lot of options. You actually don't get many options at all. I know the new TRD Pros are kind of doing a hybrid system. That's kind of, we don't really know too much about it as far as longevity and performance, or I'm interested to see kind of how that plays out in the next coming years. And obviously the 4.7 in the previous gens are absolutely bulletproof. It's kind of the famous million-mile truck.
Yeah,
And I think-
that's first gen, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you get the 4.6
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
the
5.7 and the second gen.
Yeah.
I think the hybrid is interesting. I think there is a lot of power there off the line.
Yeah.
I think that they're advertising pretty high power numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's still a terrible engine for a full-size truck. Twin turbo, like gas V6.
Yeah.
Just full of disappointment. So, and that's why it's a little
Sounds like
baby
an F1
truck.
car.
And you might even say that the Tundra is like really apples to oranges comparing to like
It is the odd man out
these
in this-
big boy
yeah.
trucks.
It's trying to keep up.
We put our
They're
big boy
trying to-
pants on, and you've got your capri pants.
Yeah,
I
so
mean
I'm
that,
sure
that engine's kind of trying to compete with EcoBoost, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll be more
Yeah, very
reliable
true.
because that's not hard to do because Fords suck. So, but
Hey,
we go over to the Ram side. We've got a full big rig sized diesel from Cummins.
What's a diesel?
It lets us pull whatever we want whenever we want. And then we've got a big old 6.4 Hemi. I think the 6.4 Hemi is actually terrible. I am not a fan of the gasser in the Ram. We had it in a Power Wagon. The gearing, the shift point, I don't know, it just kind of was a dog.
Searched a lot for years.
If you're going Ram, you got to go Cummins, in my opinion. On the Ford front, we have a trashy diesel option that's 6.7.
We do. We've got the 6.7, or we have the 7.3 gas motor, the Godzilla motor,
Yeah.
which we have in one of our trucks here at MLO. That thing's a beast. With the 10-speed trans, you can cruise on the highway 90 miles an hour towing a trailer with a camper in the back. So
At like 1,800 RPMs, it actually is pretty impressive.
It's pretty nice, yeah. The diesel version, I'm sure it's a great option.
I think that
I think diesels are getting more complicated in general, and they're kind of a pain in the ass maintenance-wise. So
Yeah, I think Ford's track record with diesel is atrocious, and that's why we went with a gasser. And that is, if I was going to get a Ford, I would get a gasser. In that category.
Yeah, and then you can supercharge it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have as much torque.
You could definitely put a big old blower on it and feel better about yourself than Joe here with his little minivan motor and his turbos that are going to eat themselves. And
I'm saving at the pump.
Yeah.
But
You're honestly, not saving. What you aren't saving is embarrassment.
But honestly, if you're buying a full-size truck, MPG should really not be your concern.
All right, so let's talk about suspension options. Right, so for the Ford, we've got leaf spring rear, solid axle front and rear, coil sprung in the front. The older trucks would be, leaves all around. And honestly, if you're going to be going full size and you're going to be adding a lot of weight on there, I think the leaf springs in the rear is the way to go.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Bring me on.
I mean, what else were you going to pick? How about you, Joe?
So on the second gen Tundra, they had a kind of traditional leaf spring setup, which I think is great and kind of is made to support all the weight. On the third gens, they did switch to coil rear, which has been a little bit interesting when doing this flatbed build. You basically had to get the heaviest coil spring out there that Davidson's makes.
Yeah.
And airbags. And once you do those upgrades, it's pretty capable.
Definitely some off-road capability with the coil springs. Yeah. Some interesting options. I think, as far as what the aftermarket's coming out with, there's still some stuff that needs to come out to fill in the blanks. But it's pretty wild what, how old of the technology you can blend with a 2022. You can put in 20, 30-year-old coil springs in the rear. And The second gen with the leaf springs definitely provides more stability for, if you're really going to push it with a flatbed conversion and stuff like that.
And that's nice for kind of middle of the road people. They can always just throw an add a leaf in there if they're looking for more support. They don't have to go full leaf spring swap.
Yeah.
And I guess the Tundra is also the only truck here that's independent front suspension.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
That's definitely a big difference here. It gives you definitely better driving manners on the road.
Yes.
A lot of people argue worse performance off-road.
Yes. I mean,
less durability. Durability.
Yeah. More moving parts.
You're going to have to carry spare CVs.
Parts to seize and fail, but does drive more car-like. Probably easier to kind of melt those miles away.
Yeah. So it kind of depends what you're looking for. If you want to beat the crap out of your truck, it's hard to beat solid axles.
The Ram, we have a couple different options. So full-size Ram, we can get a 2500 where coil sprung front and rear, which is great for off-roading. That's why they offer that in the Power Wagon. Good for nice and being flexy and stuff off-road. There are some options to kind of beef that up in terms of sway bars and heavy-duty coil springs for if you really wanted to stay coil sprung with a bunch of weight, like a flatbed or something like that. Or we can go with what I would recommend, which would be the Ram 3500 with air assist. That's factory air ride, big old convoluted bags, onboard air compressor, cohesive setup with ride height sensors. You don't have to get out and fill up your airbags or anything like that.
Until they leak.
The factory Ram bags have been pretty robust, and I have not seen a failure on those. Like we have with some aftermarket ones, etc. I think that is kind of the end-all, be-all, holy grail, full-size truck for towing, running a flatbed. You've got some good flat frame rails. Not as flat as the Fords, but nice and flat for fitting a tray and camper combo. Cohesively, the Ram I think still has the crown for the cohesive, tidy package modifications. Ford's certainly getting there. This is the first Tundra that you can fit a 35 on without a lot of work, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's actually offset.
Even stock, it can pull some tire bars out of the way. So things are definitely moving forward, but you're only going to be happy if you buy a Ram.
All right, so one of our most important, aspects of looking at each of these vehicles, in my mind, would be the aftermarket support. If you're going to build it out as an overland platform, you got to have all those accessories to bolt on to that to make it as such, right? So, Pete, why don't you start off?
Yeah, the Ram, we have a ton of options. Again, we've got like the cohesive package from AEV, where you can take your truck from just running maybe 35s with a minor lift all the way up to cutaway fender flares, hydro assist steering, full replacement, shocks, coil springs. We also have options from Carly with fabricated radius arms, cane shocks that are tuned for the setup, replacement coil springs. Really, really have a lot of options. Regearing is a little tricky on the latest Rams out there. We're still waiting on the right ring and pinion combo to come out for the latest iteration of the new Ram, because they did change a little bit of the housing design. But the good news is you've got a big old Cummins and you don't need to regear because you got all the power in the world anyway.
So looking at the Tundra, the second gen obviously has tons of mods. It's kind of been extensively modded. You can see all the iterations of it. But the only downside is with the new third gens, since it's so new to market, there's currently not a ton of options out there.
Yeah.
There's a rear suspension solution from Dobinson's, which we used in this most recent build.
Yeah.
We're still kind of waiting on front suspension to come to
A lot
market.
of spacer options, Westcott, and the like.
Yeah, so currently spacer's available, but for a full coilover in the front, that's not really available yet. C4 and CBI currently have bumpers for the new Tundra. Those are kind of really your only options.
TRD's got like an adjustable upper control arm, right? I mean, they've got some options right from the factory for the Tundra.
Yeah,
there's options from the pro level and all that. The second gen, like Joe said, has a ton of aftermarket support with like long travel options.
Yeah, you can do some crazy stuff.
Crazy suspension, bumpers, all that is really dialed. The new Tundra is basically suffering from like new platform-itis, if you will, like we ran into on the Bronco, and just kind of like the usual setup of like, what do we do to put a big tire on it, and it doesn't matter what you have to do, and then you go back and fix it after the fact. So
pretty much.
And there will be support that comes out for it. It's just going to take some time. Interesting to see what's going to come out. Exciting to see what's going to come out.
Well, on the Ford platform, you got tons of options, honestly. Carly kits for suspension, great option. We run that on the Ford. Really lets you dial it in. Lots of leaf spring options. We can fit 35s, 37s on there, no problem. With that suspension setup, you could go to 40s if you want to go down that road. Bumper-wise, we've got the AFN bumper, both front and rear on our Ford. I think they look great. Really kind of modern styling. Nice integrated look. A lot of other options, buck stop, Expedition 1. I mean, there are a plethora of options.
AFN's probably the only like non-fabricated to order option. So it's interesting that there is an option out there, or at least like attractive, legitimate option.
Yeah.
There are some other bumpers out there that look horrendous that are available.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't even consider them, and you should not either.
Yeah.
All right, well that covers 3 full-size vehicle platforms that we really favor here at MLO. If you like them, you can agree with us. If not, let us know what you think is your favorite overland vehicle platform in the full-size division. You can send your comments down below, and
we'll let you know why you're wrong.
Agreed. We'll be covering some future platforms coming up, right, Pete?
Yeah, we have some different categories coming up. We're going to be covering mid-sized trucks. We've got SUVs coming down the line. So stay tuned for our top 3 of the mid-sized truck category, and we'll let you know all the good and bad info associated with each platform.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Thanks for watching.